Good morning. It's pretty early in the morning, 4:15, because I'm hoping to be on the road by 5 a.m. and that should give me an hour of cycling when it's nice and cool and dark, no hot sun, and less traffic. Yeah, I can get an hour of cycling in before the sun even comes up. That's my goal for this morning. So I have sort of 45 minutes to shower, pack up, and get the bike ready and leave. I don't know whether that's going to happen though, because I'm sick to my stomach again. I don't know what's going on, so it's going to be a bit of a tough day, but we'll see how this goes. I don't really have a choice. If I did have a choice, to be honest, I wouldn't go anywhere today because I'm definitely not feeling well. But I have to get to Pekanbaru tomorrow in order to go to immigration. Well, I have to get to Pekanbaru today so that I can go to the immigration office tomorrow morning. So that's the whole idea. And I already have a hotel room booked in Pekanbaru at the Windstar Hotel. We'll see how that works out. And I chose that hotel partially because it's relatively close to the immigration office, about 1.5 kilometers away, like kind of downtown Pekanbaru. So I'm heading to the Windstar, and then first thing tomorrow morning going to immigration. So I don't really have a choice. I've got to get to Pekanbaru today. And with my stomach the way it is, it's probably not a great idea even to have coffee, but I'm going to have a cup of instant coffee anyway. Why not? I don't think I ever talked about this on video. This is, or maybe I talked about it, I never showed it. This is a kettle that I bought when I was in Dubai. I have a long history with buying kettles because I'll buy some sort of a mini travel kettle, pack it, and then at some point I'll decide that I have too much gear with me and I'll start leaving things behind. And one of the first things that goes is the kettle. And I figure, I can live without a kettle, And I last about a day without an instant coffee in the morning or in the afternoon. I just sort of enjoy my coffee so much. So before I know it, I'm out and I just go buy another cheap kettle. And as far as cheap kettles go, this one is as cheap as they come. It's one of those like made in China, I believe. I've even had this exact model before, I think. I think there's a factory in China that makes this type of kettle, and then they just ship them by the millions all over the world, and then they just get packaged with different brand names depending on the country you're in. Because I bought this exact same kettle, I'm pretty sure, a smaller one than this, when I was in Myanmar. And they're pretty scary because they have no features at all. I mean, there's like no off button, there's no fuses or anything, and it has no automatic shut off. So when it boils, it will just boil forever until it goes dry, and then it will burst into flames probably. So I think in most countries around the world, I don't think they could even sell this as a kettle. It wouldn't pass any safety regulations, right? So, but you can buy these in places like Indonesia and Myanmar and things like that. So I picked one up, and oddly enough, well, not oddly enough, as always happens with me, I bought one of these. I found a store in Dubai that had 3 of them, like the large, medium, and small versions of this kettle. And I got the small, this much smaller than this one, because I only need to make enough water for 1 cup of coffee. So I was very happy to find it. I think it cost, I forget the price now, but it was like $3 or something like that, US. So yeah, we're not talking about high quality gear here. And then I got it back to my hotel room, put water in it, plugged it in. I plugged it in the bathroom in Dubai, and I was out in my room doing some other things. And I started to hear all this crazy noise coming from the bathroom. So I go rushing into the bathroom, and it turns out that the kettle was full of pinhole leaks. the water was pouring out of the bottom of the kettle and then pouring all over the element underneath. So the whole thing was just like, you know, just sending big clouds of steam in all directions. It sounded like it was going to explode. So I wondered what the world's going on. I unplugged it, and then I investigated, and then I realized water was pouring out of the bottom. And when I looked, the base of it had tiny, like microscopic holes. I mean, the water doesn't even leak normally. Like, you can fill it up and it won't leak, but as soon as it heats up, then those little holes get just big enough for the water to pour through. So the kettle I bought, I don't know how it happens. I mean, it's an aluminum thing. How in the world do you get pinholes, like a whole series of them all around the bottom? Anyway, so I went back to the hardware store, assuming there would be nothing I could do. But the guy, you know, put water in it, plugged it in, and the whole thing practically exploded. All the water's pouring out the bottom, so you could tell there was something wrong with it. And then we started looking at all the other kettles in the hardware store, the same type, and they all had holes in the bottom. They all had little pinholes. So there's either some kind of a manufacturing defect, or some employee had a grudge against the company and just sabotaged their latest shipment. But anyway, the guy at the hardware store, boy, this is turning into a long story. He was very helpful. He really wanted to get me a kettle. And then he got on his scooter and he started driving around Dubai, and he went to all these other stores that he had connections with, I guess, looking for one for me that didn't have pinholes. And then he eventually produced this one. And this one did not have holes in the bottom, but it was the large size. So it was a little bit larger and heavier than I wanted, but at the time it was the only the only kettle that I could get. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. One thing about it, it is super loud, which is why I just unplugged it, because while it's coming to a boil, it sounds like a jet engine. So I can barely speak over it while it's coming to a boil. Anyway, I'm going to plug it back in. Now we wait. Takes a long time to come to boil too. Actually, that's one reason it makes it a good kettle for me, because most kettles are designed to bring water to a boil really, really fast. That's what people want, right? For a kitchen kettle, they just want to plug it in and get a lot of power. So they're designed to draw a lot of power, like whatever, 220 volts and 1 billion amps or whatever. So they end up having those really thick cords with, you know, a grounding wire, and they can handle a really strong current. But this is a real cheapo one, so it actually has a normal plug, a very skinny, lightweight plug, and I really like that. So it doesn't draw much power, which is a good thing, because it means it's very lightweight, and the cord is not one of those big, thick monster cords. It's a very normal household electronics cord, but it's very loud, and it takes a long time to come to a boil. Oh boy, yeah. I'm not ready for today at all. Not feeling well. But I have to go. The air conditioner in here, up above me there, is pretty funny too, because just in terms of sound, I was thinking about the sound this kettle makes, and it makes it really, when the air conditioner kicks in, like when the motor kicks in, it sounds exactly like rain falling on the roof. So the time that I've been here in this room, I keep thinking it's pouring rain outside. So when the alarm went off this morning, I set an alarm for 4 a.m. And when my alarm went off and I woke up, I was actually sleeping when the alarm went off. So that's a good sign. I actually got some sleep. And then when I woke up, my heart sank, because I knew it was going to be a tough day to begin with. But I also heard heavy rain outside, and I thought, oh, it's pouring rain too. But it turned out it was just the air conditioner. Yeah, makes a weird sound when it kicks in. It's kind of interesting too. There's no remote control for the air conditioner. Like, you can't turn it on or off or adjust the temperature. with a remote, this switch controls it. So you can turn it on or turn it off, and that's it. And then it just runs. Works though. I'm usually much faster than this with all of my packing up projects. Just, I guess, talking to the GoPro is distracting me, slowing me down. Yeah, I gotta get a move on. Oh. All right, showered, shaved, and the water is boiling. So that's a tricky thing with this kettle. I like to boil water while I'm taking the shower. You know, you plug in the kettle, take a quick shower, and by the time you're done showering, you know, the water is boiling and you can make a cup of coffee. But a normal kettle, as I said, will turn itself off after the water has come to a boil. Not so this beast, this furnace. Even after you unplug it, it's so hot that it continues to boil for quite a long time. But anyway, if, like I said, it will not turn off by itself. So you have to make sure you can't plug it in, leave the room, you know, because you think you're going to go to the front desk and have a 20-second conversation and come back, and then you forget, and then you're out there for 20 minutes or something, forgetting that your kettle is plugged in. Yeah, that would be bad news. So you have to monitor this beast of a kettle carefully. Well, I was in Kuala Lumpur. Actually, when I was in Thailand heading to Malaysia, I assumed I would be shopping for and purchasing like one of those really fancy modern travel kettles. You can buy them now. I guess they're very lightweight and small, you know, designed for like one cup of coffee. You throw it in your suitcase, you know, to take it with you. And for whatever reason, I just never got around to it. So when I left, I realized I had no kettle to bring with me. And I thought I would just live without one. Like, if you don't have coffee in your room, it kind of forces you to go outside into the world more often, you know, to go look for a cup of coffee. But I kind of like having a kettle. So as I said, I bought one. Oh, man. Yeah, it's taking me a lot longer this morning than I thought to get organized. Mixed blessing, staying at this hotel. It's a great place. I really like it. And they serve a really nice breakfast in the morning. And I have my my breakfast coupon for this morning. I don't think you actually have to show this, but they gave this to me when I checked in, and I paid for 2 nights, and they gave me 2 coupons for breakfast. And then when I went there yesterday morning, you know, I gave the guy my coupon, and he seemed startled. It's like, why are you giving me that? And I says, well, isn't that how it works? But I looked around, and no one else who came in for breakfast was handing over the coupon. So I guess they have the coupon system, but they don't actually use it. Maybe it's like a train system where they just allow, like the honor system, you can board the train, and then maybe a conductor will come around and ask to see your tickets, maybe not. You know, it's a bit of a crapshoot. So maybe here, maybe they will ask to see a coupon if they suspect someone has snuck in from the outside world, you know, to get a free breakfast. Anyway, for me, it was a really nice breakfast, even though I don't think it was the breakfast that caused me to be sick again. It just, it's just something that happens to me all the time. But they will be laying out a very nice breakfast again this morning, but I won't be able to have any because I'll be gone before breakfast is ready. Yeah, and this room is much, I really, really like it. I like this room a lot. Love this hotel. Highly recommended as a low budget option here in Candace. But my room does have an Asian style squat toilet, which normally I don't mind. I'm perfectly content with one of those toilets. Sometimes I even prefer them. I don't like them out in the real world. Like if you're at a bus station or something and you go in to use the bathroom and it's a squat toilet, that can be a bit of a problem because like a bus station toilet is going to be dirty and wet and hot, and it's just really hard to operate normally in one of those squat toilet environments. Then it's nice to have a sit-down style toilet. But in your own hotel room where it's dry and you're comfortable and relaxed, they're fine. But of course, I'm having issues with my knees and issues with my stomach. So I was in the bathroom a lot more than I wanted to be. And then I'm squatting on that toilet, and that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on your knees. Like you're fully, your knee is like fully not extended. What's the other word? If you're squatting, your legs are bent the other direction. So anyway, puts a lot of pressure on your knee when you're squatting there, and then having to get up again, and with my knees in the shape they're in, I didn't really want to put them through that kind of stress, but yeah, I didn't have a choice. So we shall see how my knees operate today. I think the distance I have to cover, it's not that great, but it's about somewhere between 60 and 70 kilometers, I think, to get me to my hotel room. It'll be interesting to see when my knees give out. My left knee seems to be in worse shape than my right. So maybe I'll get 30 kilometers out of my left knee before it shuts down, fingers crossed. And maybe I'll get 40 kilometers out of my right knee, and then I'll have to ride the last 20 to 30 kilometers in pain again with my two knees. But who knows? Maybe I'll make it the whole way. Because I've been off the bike for one day here in Candace to give my knees a chance to keep getting stronger and getting better, rather than riding every day, just taking a day off, then riding. And while I'm in Pekanbaru, I don't know how many days it's going to take to process my visa extension application. So I could be there for 3, 4, even 5 days. I don't know what's going to happen. But that would be a long time to be off the bike. So anyway, fingers crossed that today goes well. Yeah, I'm having trouble with packing up too. Years ago now, on previous bike trips, I tended to be quite organized. I knew exactly where all my gear went, and I had a system in place for packing up. But because I'm shooting video now, everything is just a mess because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where. I don't have a system in place. Where does the GoPro go? Where does the 360? Where does my camera gear go? Where do the batteries go? Where does this go? And with all the other stuff that I normally have with me, all my systems have fallen apart, and I haven't been able to put it together yet. So I'm constantly confused. I don't know where anything is anymore half the time, and packing is not very efficient yet. But anyway, I have to get back to getting a little bit organized here while I enjoy my coffee. All right, making progress. The bike is more or less packed up. I have it out there ready to go. I have the trailer attached. I just have my 2 pannier bags in here yet. I made one last rushed trip into the bathroom, and that's going to have to, hopefully that holds me until I get to Pekanbaru. We'll see how the day goes, but I don't feel that bad. So I'm tired though. You probably hear my voice is a bit froggy. I'm not quite ready for a day on the road, but yeah, a little bit later than I'd hoped. It's 20 after 5 now. The plan was to be on the road at 5. So it's going to be 5:30. I'm half an hour behind schedule. But to be honest, I didn't have any plans to record this sort of packing up sequence. I just sort of decided to do this at the last minute. So you can blame the half-hour delay on just getting the camera gear ready and doing stuff like this. But anyway, here is my room as I'm going to leave it. Talked about this before. One great thing about being on the road, though, is it does make packing up easier. What I mean is it makes forgetting things more difficult because you don't have to remember to bring everything. All you have to do is make sure you didn't forget everything or forget anything. So you look in the bathroom and as long as there's nothing in here that belongs to me. So there's the hooks, no toiletry kit, no towels, no shaver, no toothbrush, you know. There's my nemesis for my day and a night here, 2 nights here. Yeah, like the bathroom, nothing in there belongs to me, and I checked, so. And then out here on the table, there's nothing here that belongs to me. There's an outlet, and nothing plugged into that outlet. This is the other outlet, nothing plugged in here. And beside the bed, you know, there's nothing on the floor. I've already checked. I've already looked under the bed. Nothing on the bed. So, you know, these are the only 2 things in here that belong to me. So as long as I leave the room carrying those, yeah, I'm good to go. So as I said, if you're leaving from your home, you have to think about every individual item. Like, did I bring everything I need with me? But here, once you're traveling, all you have to do is make sure you don't leave anything behind. Then by process of logic, then everything must be with you. All right, let's go. And there's no one at the front desk. I think everyone is back here preparing breakfast. So I have to drop off my key back here. There you are.
Oh, yeah.
Check out.
You in check out?
Yep, all done.
You want a breakfast?
No, thank you. No, I'm okay. That's good. Can I show your kitchen on video? So here's the kitchen here. They make a really good breakfast. Very nice.
A little.
Yeah.
A little no.
Thank you. I love hotels like this because there's just so much room. And because I had a room on the ground floor, that's my room there, I could easily just roll everything out here.
You want a photo with you?
Oh, okay, sure. And it's time to take the selfie. Okay. Wow. Yeah, and this is where my bike is. Got my lights flashing already. Whew, all right. Leaving the W72. Good morning. Funny thing, my camera is way off balance and bouncing around. I have to stop for a second to fix this. Just saying, it was kind of funny that I was talking about it's easier to pack up and keep track of everything when you're leaving from a hotel, just because all you have to do is make sure you've left nothing behind, and then you have everything with you. And right after I said that, I was trying to drop off the key, and there was no one at the front desk. I kind of knew that already because I was already chatting with a young guy. He saw me packing up, and he came out to make sure I wasn't leaving like right that second. You know, he was, okay, you're getting ready to leave, but you're not leaving right now yet. You know, we had a little chat about that. He said he was in the kitchen. He was worried that, you know, there's no one at the front desk to check me out. he just wanted to let me know that everybody's back in the kitchen preparing breakfast right now. Ooh boy, my left knee is twinging and the day hasn't even started. So that's not good news about my left knee. Right knee is okay. Left knee, I was hoping to get a few good kilometers out of it, but it's already in pain. Oh well, let's see what I can do. But anyway, then I was ready to go, and all I needed to do was bring my 2 pannier bags to my bike and drop off the key to the room and, you know, officially check out. So I dropped off my 2 bags. Well, I just put them by the door next to my bike, and then I went to give them the key, and then they asked, oh, can we take a selfie together? So I said, sure, no problem. And then we walked all the way down the hallway to the lobby area where the light is better and you get the front desk and all that kind of thing. They wanted to pose for pictures there, so took a whole series of selfies with the 2 young guys that were on staff this morning, and there was an older woman there as well, seemed to be more senior in the hotel. And they took selfies with their phones, and then I asked them to take a selfie with mine. And then we were out there, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, however long it took. And then I suddenly realized that I'd left my 2 pannier bags completely untended, just sitting there out in the open where anybody could have grabbed them and run away with them. So even after all of my careful planning and packing and organizing and even talking about being careful and being organized, in the chaos of checking out, I end up leaving my most valuable possessions just lying on the ground, you know, completely unguarded for quite a long time. Woo. Couple of trucks moving at high speed. Man, oh, this left knee is going to be a problem. Fiddling around with my gear shifters, and I seem to have screwed things up. Anyway, I should turn off the camera for a minute to pay more attention to what I'm doing rather than talking. Ay, ay, ay. On the positive side of things, today riding to Pekanbaru will probably be, well, it was going to be my last day for now on this highway. I still don't know whether I'll be riding up the mountain to Bukit Tinggi or not. I may end up taking some kind of a bus if my knees won't let me do the climb. I'm going to wait and see how that turns out. But after Pekanbaru, the road to Bukit Tinggi changes. I turn off, like this is the major highway. This is the highway that runs all the way from Banda Aceh in the north, through Medan, to Pekanbaru. And then continues all the way on to Java, you know, and the rest of Indonesia. So this is the main artery, or one of the 2 main arteries in Sumatra. That's why it's so busy. But in Pekanbaru, to go to Bukit Tinggi, you have to turn off onto a much smaller road. Yeah, something else I did yesterday, we'll have to see whether it was a good idea or not. I was thinking about my knees, and I wondered if my seat was too low. Boy, there's more traffic at 5:30 in the morning than I expected. More trucks and buses on the road. But I noticed that if right now my knee is in a lot of pain already, and if I stop pedaling and just sort of extend it fully, it feels better. So I thought maybe if I raised my seat higher, then on every pedal stroke, my knee stretches out further. And I thought maybe that would be one way to try and minimize these knee problems. I still have some hope that things will be okay because, as I said, my right knee feels fine right now. I'm going to get a few good kilometers out of it. So if my right knee has recovered to this extent, then perhaps my left knee will do the same. Yeah, maybe I just sort of did more damage to it or twisted it out of position more. Yeah, I don't know if having the seat up higher like this is making any difference or not. Certainly hasn't made a difference to my left knee. It's actually worse than it was a couple days ago. Oh well. On the positive side, as I said, I'll be turning off this busy highway once I get to Pekanbaru. And it's also not raining, so that's a good thing.
Are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? I guess I've never been a big fan of that way of thinking, to be honest. Like saying it could always be worse. It's like if something is going wrong and you comfort yourself by thinking, well, could be worse. And then you start listing all of the really horrific things that could happen. And you think, oh, at least none of that is going on. But I don't know. As far as logic goes, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But hey, you can do that to sort of give yourself a more positive attitude. It's like, okay, I'm on a really busy highway with a lot of large trucks. And my knees are in bad shape. And I'm sort of facing a time problem, you know, that I have to get to Pekanbaru by a certain day. None of that is good. But at least, truck coming up behind me. He had to poor guy, he had to hit the brakes and slow down and then gear back up again. And in this situation, I'm never sure whether that horn honking is a friendly hello or whether they're honking at me out of annoyance. Like, what are you doing on the road? And what are you doing on the road so early in the morning? Moving so slowly. But I don't know. People here are extremely friendly, and they seem very happy to engage with me in all kinds of ways. So I think the truck drivers don't really mind. They're just sort of happy to see something unusual on the road, you know? Gives them something to look at and think about, and people here seem to like the fact that I'm traveling around Indonesia. All right. Whew, this looks like a bit of a truck stop. Yeah. Oh yeah, bus station. Yeah. Restaurants here. And all these big trucks have pulled over to grab some breakfast, I guess. I was talking the other day about how I was watching some of these free documentaries on YouTube, kind of the, you know, the world's most dangerous road series, and they focus mainly on, you know, very muddy roads, mountainous roads. And I watched a few episodes from countries in Africa where, yeah, the trucks had a heck of a time getting anywhere. They get stuck in the mud and spend sometimes 2 or even 3 days, you know, just stuck at the side of the road, way out in the jungle, being devoured by insects, getting sick as they try and either fix the engine of their truck or get it out of the mud. And this road, of course, is nothing like that. It's quite a nice paved road. It's a bit small for the size of the traffic. But it's a nice paved road, so it's really nothing like what I see in those documentaries, and yet it has a very similar feeling to it. Going from watching one of those documentaries to being out here on the road with these big trucks, sort of feels like it's the same sort of scene. A wise course of action, passing that bus station, probably would have been to just pull in there and try and put my bike on a bus to get to Pekanbaru today. As I said, my left knee is not happy. Ay, ay, ay. I just stopped at the side of the road to turn the GoPro around. Yeah. I'm still adjusting all the camera gear, all the bike gear, definitely on a daily basis, sometimes even an hour basis. So I still have two mounting ways for the GoPro, like 2 different sticks. And this morning I had the thinner blue stick, and the GoPro seemed to be bouncing around a whole lot more. So I switched back to this thicker brown one, and I want to see whether it holds up better. But since I'm not using the 360 camera this morning, you know, if I ever want to change the angle from pointing backwards to forwards or anything, I have to stop and move the whole camera. So just for fun, I thought I would point the camera ahead of me for a little while, capture some of this dark road, bit of a hill or two up ahead, so my knee is not going to be happy about that. But, look at that. That is just craziness. when these trucks are hitting this hill, they really pick up speed. Anyway, here's a short break in the trucks. I do find that just getting off the bike for a few minutes really helps my knee sort of adjust a little bit. I used to feel, maybe it's an illusion. But perhaps to make it to Pekanbaru today, a very slow journey seems to be ahead of me. I'm stopping quite often to take little breaks to let my knee rest. I think I might have to take my broomstick and my axe handle and cut them shorter. They seem to be just a bit too long. Puts way too much bend in them, and they bounce around a bit too much, a bit too long. The pressure I put on my knee seems to be the key thing. As soon as I hit one of these hills and have to climb, the pain in my knee goes up dramatically. So hopefully there aren't too many hills today. I was just thinking though that since I'm heading into a large city, Pekanbaru has a population over 1 million people. Perhaps the road is going to get significantly wider at some point. So the closer I get to Pekanbaru, I think the traffic level is going to go up a lot. But maybe at the same time, the road will get wider, more lanes, and things will get easier as the day goes by. We shall see. Like right now, I have a little bit of a shoulder. It's going to disappear around this curve, but I had a shoulder for like half a kilometer. One interesting thing about this morning is that it seems very, very damp, like very humid. I haven't experienced much of that here so far. So as soon as I stepped outside of my room at the hotel, everything was covered in a film of condensation. My bike was quite wet to the touch, and all my camera gear suddenly became wet as soon as I stepped outside. Yeah, I can feel it right now. The air is very wet. A lot of moisture in the air. At the hotel, I think they were quite sad to see me leave so abruptly. Everyone seemed to enjoy having me at the hotel, and I think they were looking forward to having me as their guest for another breakfast. But as I explained to them, I really wanted to, I couldn't really wait for breakfast. I wanted to get on the road. And they seemed sad about that, and they really wanted to give me a breakfast to bring with me. They're gonna pack like a lunchbox for me to bring with me. And normally I would have said, yes please, and thank you very much, but I can't really risk eating today with my stomach the way it is. So even if I brought the food, I wouldn't be able to eat it. So. I've climbed up a little bit in this direction. You can see a little bit of terrain, some hills, some fog down there. And the road has become quite curvy, as always happens when you start to go through some hills. Starting to get lighter. I can now see where I'm going, which is good. The last couple of mornings I noticed there's a full moon up in the sky. Actually, I noticed it in the video. I saw it in the video before I saw it in real life. I saw it in the video, I was like, oh, full moon. And then I started looking for it. I was like, okay, and there it is right now. It's up there in the sky again. There's some evidence of my theory that the road might be getting wider the closer I get to Pekanbaru. Going around a curve here, quite a few trucks. And the road is quite a bit wider than it was before. Makes things a lot more comfortable. Could be just for this curved section, but we'll see. I remember when I did a bit of cycling in the Philippines, I kept having the same thought about the mechanics of a internal combustion engine, you know, the engines on all these tiny scooters, because the hills in the Philippines, in like the back country areas, were phenomenally steep, like unbelievably steep. And I'd be, you know, riding my bike, and it would take every last ounce of my effort just to move my bike forward up these hills. And while I was doing that, quite tiny scooters, you know, with 50cc engines on them, would just go roaring past straight up that hill. And I always ended up marveling at how much power an engine can get out of gasoline. Yeah, check this out right here. The highway is splitting into two, so it's a divided highway now, 2 lanes on each side. And Yeah, normally that would not be anyone's idea of a cycling paradise. Like, oh, and this is the turnoff. If you wanted to go to the big highway, the toll highway, you turn right here in a short junction. This little feeder road basically takes you to the main highway. But as I was saying, normally you wouldn't think of a big divided highway as a cycling paradise, but I welcome this, that's for sure. Look at that. That truck, he can have one lane, and I can have the other lane. A lot easier to share the road. Well, left knee still bad, but so far so good with the right knee. Hello. So I can't use much force with my left knee, but I can, going uphill anyway, I can kind of make up for it by using my right leg mainly. I might have gotten excited too soon. Back down to a 2-lane normal highway again. I guess it was 4 lanes just for that brief spot at the feeder road. Hello. But it does feel like the road is a bit wider than before anyway. So I'm fine, thank you. Everybody keeps calling out, you know, how are you, mister? And of course what I want to say is, well, not so good. Got a pain in my left knee, and but of course nobody really wants to know truly how you are. How are you? And I say, I'm fine, thank you. Oh, just thought it was time to check in, give a little bit of a trip update. Just have the GoPro facing ahead of me so you won't see me huffing and puffing going up the hills. Because the road turned out to be quite hilly. Surprised me. I checked the altitude, and I don't think there's a big altitude change from Pekanbaru to, you know, Dumai or Duri or Candice, but it does go over a series of hills to get there. So it's been slow and steady, climbing up these hills and then going down the other side and then climbing up the next one. A lot of just cycling in first gear, which is normally fine with me. Still having it's not great with my knee, my left knee. Good news is that the right knee still feels fine. It's doing most of the work today, my right leg. Changing a lot of gears though. It's like constantly changing from a high gear to a low gear, going up and down these gradual hills. It does get pretty steep though. The one big adventure I've had so far is that the right wheel on my trailer on a fast downhill, it just fell off. And I don't think that's ever happened before. And I think what happened is, truck coming behind me and ahead of me. Couple of trucks, and there was no shoulder here, so I wasn't able to get out of their way. Yeah, I think what happened is when I left from the hotel this morning, there was so much activity, all the selfies they were taking, and then one of the guys that works at the hotel, he wanted to take video of me leaving, like riding my bike out of the parking lot. So he went ahead of me, and then he was waiting for me. So I felt pressure to move faster, you know. I would normally, you know, after taking all the selfies, you know, I would stop and go over the bike carefully, set up the cameras, you know, make sure everything is in good condition. But I was kind of feeling like I had to move because the guy was waiting for me to go. So I guess I wasn't as careful as I normally am. And the trailer wheels has a sort of a bearing mechanism. You have to push them all the way in, and you can feel them and hear them click into place. And I must have inserted the wheels, but I was moving so fast and I was so distracted. I didn't actually get the right one locked into position with the bearing. And as I was riding along, the axle was slowly coming out, and I never noticed until the whole tire just fell right off. Trailer hit the pavement. Luckily, I generally, when I'm going downhill, I control my speed. I don't... Yikes. There's a face full of exhaust. I don't generally just let the bike go as, you know, zoom downhill. I apply the brakes a little bit. Plus, I move my hands right on the handlebars in the middle, and I'm holding the brakes just in case. So when the wheel fell off, I was able to hit the brakes quickly. I don't know what this looks like on the GoPro. I find cameras don't really convey road conditions that well, especially the grade of a road. But right now, it doesn't look like it, but this is about as steep as a road gets. I'm down in first gear, and I have to use all my strength to make it up this incline. There we go. I can feel it easing off now. Yeah, it wasn't so bad. It's just puts more pressure on my knee, unfortunately. So, now I can pop up to a higher gear. And I would normally keep pedaling even on the downhill. But again, I'm kind of trying to baby my knee along. So now when I'm going downhill, I tend to coast now. Try to not pedal as much as possible. Yeah, I just came past an intersection. And hello. Hello, how are you? And the road, it looked like when you look at it on Google Maps, the other road that cut off to the left, on Google Maps, it looks quite straight. And that generally means it doesn't go up and down. This road that I'm on Google Maps curves and winds quite a bit. And that's a signal that it's usually going up and down hills. If it's curving and twisting and turning a lot, usually means you're going up and down. So I wondered if it would make sense to turn off onto that side road. It would have been a bit farther to go, add a bit of distance, but might have been an easier ride for my knees. But I was talking to some truck drivers there, and they said that was the whole road is owned by an oil company. And I got the impression that they don't like anyone else to take that road unless they're on official oil company business. And that may or may not be true, but I figured I didn't want to risk it. I would just stay on this highway, which I know is a public highway. Okay. Guess around this on the shoulder. And here's another, it's a very small incline. But even for an incline like this, I have to drop down into my lowest gear in order to make it up to the top. One funny thing, ever since I bought this bike, I mean, I've never been happy with this bike. I've owned it for 23 years, but it's never been comfortable for me. So I really should have at some point gotten rid of it and tried to get a completely different bike. But for whatever reason, I never did. And I don't think the frame of it is the right size for me or the right geometry. Because one odd thing about it, I've never been able to figure it out, is that I can't get up off the saddle. Like, you know, if you look at one of those Tour de France guys going as fast as possible, and if they're going uphill on a very steep hill, they lift themselves up off the seat. They're not sitting on the saddle anymore. They're standing on the pedals, so they can use all of their body weight and their muscles to turn the pedals. And that's what, you know, you could do even if you're bike touring, get up off the seat on really steep hills. But I don't know, there's something about the geometry of this bike, I can't do that. Like when I get up off the seat, I don't know, there's just something weird about it. I'm way too high above the handlebars and I can't actually pedal anymore. I've been able to do it on other bikes in my life, but I've never been able to do it on this bike. So I don't have a choice really but to just stay seated the entire time, and I can't use my body weight to turn the pedals. I can only use my muscles to do it, so I don't get any advantage that way. But then again, probably doesn't matter. I have a feeling that when you're carrying a full touring load, you know, I've got my laptop with me, tablet, smartphones, chargers, electronics, adapters, plus a lot of water and the camping gear I brought with me. It isn't that heavy, but it does weigh something. Anyway, my bike is pretty heavy is what I'm saying. And I think if I was going uphill, on a really steep hill, and then I used all of my strength and weight to turn the pedals, I think I would just snap the chain anyway. It wouldn't be able to take that much pressure. So it's probably okay that I can't get up off the saddle. Just using muscle power is all I can do. Well, I've adjusted the GoPro so it's now facing towards me. You can see me huffing and puffing up a couple of hills that are coming up. Just wanted to make sure that the trailer wheels aren't falling off. Yeah, did a bit of damage to the trailer on the bottom because when the wheel fell off, I couldn't stop instantly. So the trailer was dragged along the pavement for a little bit. And when you do that, drag anything along pavement, doesn't take long until it tears it all up. So yeah, tore through the bottom of the trailer. Hey there, puppy. Puppy dog. Got to worry about these dogs with all these trucks. Luckily, the dogs here, most of them, the ones that I see, they don't tend to chase me. I'd be worried if they did chase me, you know, they would come out onto the road and get hit by a truck. But it's pretty rare. A few dogs have chased me, but not that many. What's coming up behind me? A big truck. Let them go by. All right. Oops. Yeah, I adjusted the whole GoPro thing. I mentioned earlier that the stick was too long, so it was bouncing a lot. So I moved the mounting point on my frame, the bike frame, down a bit. And that way I can lower the stick and shorten it. That's one thing about going slow in a really low gear. It's harder to keep your handlebars straight. You end up curving around a little bit. One thing I've seen, there's a truck going by right now, that yellow one. It's full of brand new scooters, and I've seen entire convoys of them, much larger trucks than that one. 3 groups of 3-4 trucks all riding together, and each truck filled to capacity with brand new scooters and motorcycles. So yeah, I remember seeing that in Thailand too. Oh, here's a dog that wants to bark at me a little bit. But on that side of the road, he's coming across. Yeah, I think they're not so worried about the dog chasing me. They're just worried, as I was, about the dog getting hit. Bit of a downhill, but bumpy section here. As I said, I don't generally just let go of the brakes and let the bike go, you know, super fast downhill. On these roads, it's just too dangerous. You can run into all kinds of crazy potholes. Chickens will run out onto the road, children, all kinds of obstacles. So and it can be tempting if you're at the top of a long downhill just to coast and you hit 40, 50, 60 kilometers an hour. But that's really dangerous on a loaded touring bike. So, this is a steep section. Basically, put your head down and you pedal. I often think of passages from a book I read a long time ago that made a big impression on me. Kind of a classic. sure most people have heard of it, if not read it, called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. There's all kinds of passages in that book that seem to have a bearing on my life's path, you know? Yeah, this is something else here. I'm going to pull over just for a second because I just spotted a chain with all kinds of sharp edges out in the middle of the road. And it just looks like it's something that's definitely going to give someone a flat tire. Yeah, it's a section of chain with these hooks attached to it, and you see all kinds of things like that on the road. And if it's not a dangerous section of the road, then I have lots of energy. I'll often stop and just toss it to the side. My Good Samaritan act for this morning. Good morning. How are you? All right. So I reached the top of that little incline, and now I can coast down the other side. Yeah, funny thing is, talking about that, earlier this morning, I moved something else off the highway. And I spotted it quite a long distance ahead of me on the road. I saw this big pile of like rubber sheeting, like thick rubber sheeting just lying in the middle of the road. And I was looking at that thing and thinking, yeah, I mean, it probably isn't dangerous, but trucks will have to, they'll see it at the last second and they'll have to swerve out of the way. So I thought, okay, I'll stop and get that rubber off the road. But before I reached it, a motorcycle passed me, and he was distracted, I guess, looking at me, didn't see the rubber. He hit it, and the rubber, it was like, as I said, really thick. It wasn't tarp, it was like heavy duty, I don't know, half-inch thick sheet of rubber, really thick, heavy stuff. And when he rode over it, kind of threw it up into the air, hit his bike, and it ripped some of the plastic cowling right off the engine block of his scooter. So just as I was looking at that pile of rubber thinking, oh, that's a dangerous thing, as soon as I thought that, someone hit it and tore pieces off their motorcycle. The guy never even noticed. It was like a big plastic covering over his engine. Something's rattling on the bike. I hate it when things are rattling. If something's rattling, you don't ignore it. It means something's wrong. Anyway, I'm on. Another thing though with cycling, I never stop at the bottom of a downhill. You know, if you want to check Google Maps, take a drink of water, adjust something on the bike. Yeah, it's never a good idea to do it at the bottom of a downhill because, I don't know, it's a psychological thing, I guess. Because then as soon as you're done fiddling around, then suddenly, you're right at the beginning of a long climb uphill. So it's better to keep your speed going, climb up the hill, And then when you get to the top and you're looking at a downhill, and then you can stop and adjust things on your bike, take a drink of water. It's also better at the top too, because traffic is going slower. All the traffic has climbed to the top. If you come to a stop at the bottom of the hill, like in a valley, that's when all the trucks, you know, they're all going downhill. And they're going super fast. It's safer to stop at the top of a hill. You can see in all directions too. You can see the traffic coming, and it's going at a slow speed. Anyway, I'm gonna stop and look for this, find out what the heck is rattling. It's not rattling now because the road is really smooth, but there's something going on down there. Yeah, it's gonna be a long day of cycling, very slow pace. It's 8 o'clock now. So I've been cycling for 2.5 hours, and I've only gone 20 kilometers. Yeah, 20 kilometers, that's almost a third of the way to Pekanbaru. So if I did that in 2.5 hours, it's going to take another 5 to 6 hours to get to Pekanbaru. Something else I've done recently is I put an emergency brake on the bike. I've done this in the past, like at the side of the road. You find a lot of old inner tubes, like if tires have a flat tire or a tire explodes and they replace it, they take the old inner tube and they throw it away. Or they take old inner tubes and cut them into strips, and they use them as straps to hold loads down, and then sometimes they pop off. So I find all these, you know, stretches of thick rubber at the side of the road. So I grabbed some of it and I wrapped it around my handlebars at the right length. So when I stop the bike like this, the bike has if you're on an uphill or downhill, it has a tendency to roll forward or backward, and then the whole bike will fall over. So you need an emergency brake. So I just put this thick piece of rubber, old inner tube around there, and then I can pull it around the brake handle, and now the bike is locked in position like an emergency brake. So now let's figure out what the heck is what's doing all this rattling. I found the culprit. It wasn't anything serious. It was complicated to explain, but I'm using a tripod ball head for mounting my GoPro. And it has a tightening lever, but even when you tighten it, it has a little bit of flex in it, and it rattles a little bit. I guess the position, it wasn't rattling before, but the position it ended up in meant that it was rattling a little bit. But that doesn't affect anything. I'll deal with that later on. I'll figure out a new way of mounting it so it doesn't rattle. One thing about today I haven't mentioned, on the good thing for me right now, is that the sun has not come out. It's an overcast day. Overcast, meaning no direct sun, but no rain either. So far, I have a feeling it is going to rain today at some point with all this cloud. So as I said, I'm 1/3 of the way to Pekanbaru. Yikes! Big lumber industry here. Ay, 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 ay. Those trucks threw me off my game. Wandering all over the shoulder here. Oh. And on the positive side, I've gone 20 kilometers and my right knee is still okay. I feel a little bit of a strain on it, but no pain yet. So I'm hoping to get another 20 kilometers out of my right knee before the pain kicks in. See how that goes. And going downhill again, so I'm not going to pedal. Give my knee a break. Yeah, speed on a bicycle is a funny thing. Right now I'm going 27 kilometers an hour, 30. I'm gonna slow down here. A lot of big potholes. So right now I just hit 40 kilometers an hour. And if you're in a car, doing 40 kilometers an hour in a car, you feel like you're standing still. I mean, you're not moving at all. And yet on a bike, 40 kilometers an hour feels really fast. Yeah, a very different perception of speed. It's funny to ride at a slow speed on these highways because you see everything at the side of the road, and so many objects tell a story. Hello. Like that chain with the hooks on it that I moved to the side of the road. Probably has a story. Somebody was using that to hold the load in place, and it fell off. You know, the chain probably broke and the whole thing fell off. Who knows what happened to his load? And you see all kinds of spare, like broken parts at the side of the road, like belts in particular. A lot of fan belts, rubber belts from the engines. And every one of those breaking that you see at the side of the road represents somebody who broke down and was stuck until they could get their truck repaired. I noticed two people, a man and a woman, sitting inside a little shop there. It's like a bit of a mechanical place. Looks like they can fix flat tires. And they were watching me go by. We made eye contact, so I nodded and smiled, and they gave me a huge smile back. Climbing uphill. Ouch. Ouch, ouch. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what this means. I know I've been talking about it a lot, but it is kind of an interesting thing to see what's going to happen with my knee, my left knee in particular. Will it repair itself, or is this like a permanent state? I don't know. I'm going to find out, I guess, over time. Yeah, and I occasionally see big chunks of metal at the side of the road. I passed a large bolt not that far back. And the bolt was big enough that you know it was holding something important in place. couple of trucks. I do appreciate the quality of the driving though. As I said, there's lots of trucks on this road, and I find it's a little bit narrow for this much truck traffic, but could be a lot worse. As I said, I don't like the logic of that that way of thinking, you know, always saying, oh, it could be worse. Yeah, I think that style of thinking bothers me. It's like someone who is in a bad car accident and, you know, they break 2 legs and an arm and they're in the hospital for 8 months, and then you talk to them and they say, well, you know, it could have been worse. I was like, well, yeah, could have been worse. You could have been killed or could have broken your back, you know. It always could have been worse, but saying that doesn't really shed light on the situation, you know, or lead to any better understanding. Could have been worse. Well, yeah, but it was still pretty darn bad. Anyway, what was I was talking about something to do with me. Oh yeah, I was saying that the road is relatively narrow for this volume of truck traffic, but it could be worse because the drivers are actually pretty good. They, as a rule, they don't cut too close to me. They're very considerate drivers. I find there isn't a whole lot of, you know, passing on a blind curve at high speed, that sort of thing. I've seen a little bit of that, but not a great deal of that. And a lot of the trucks, when they come up behind me and they can see that it's not safe to go around me, for the most part, they'll slow down, gear down, and wait until the road is clear, and then they go. So, yeah, the driving seems good. And I think I'm a fairly unusual thing for them. You know, I'm probably the only bicycle they've seen on this road in, like, per driver. You know, the last time any single driver saw a bicycle on this road, it's probably, who knows, maybe they've never seen one. Months and months ago, they might pass one every 6 months or something, I don't know. So the fact that I'm quite unusual, they still, yeah, they deal with me quite well. Yeah, the distance goes by very slowly. Oh, man, I got distracted. I was talking about Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and how various passages of that book seem to relate to, you know, situations in my life. And I always remember one passage where the main character, the author, he wasn't on his motorbike, he was hiking with his son, I think, hiking up a mountain, and he was talking about the psychology of climbing like that. And he was talking about how, I think maybe he was explaining this to his son. I think maybe his son was having trouble with the climb, and his son, I think, was focused on getting to the top, like, oh, it's so far to the top. When are we going to reach the top? You know, I can't wait till we get to the top. And his philosophy was, well, you don't think about it that way. You know, like when you're climbing uphill, you concentrate on the moment. You don't think about the, you know, getting to the top, because if you do, that just leads to, you know, frustration and impatience, and you miss the present moment. So he says what you do is you just concentrate on the moment that you're in. You don't worry about where you're going. You don't worry about getting to the top. You just think about your feet and your legs, you know, every step. You just take, you think about each step that you take, each breath that's going in and out. You look around you, you see the birds, see the trees, look at your surroundings. And you just live in the moment you're in rather than thinking about getting to the top. And I've applied that idea and that philosophy. I don't think it's not like he's a genius and thought of this thing that nobody else ever thought about before. I mean, everybody thinks about that, and I've thought of it myself. I think I had the same thoughts before I read the book, but even so, that passage in the book gave me a convenient. Oh, there's a bike. There's a bicycle. I startled him. Just that passage in the book, as I said, gave me a convenient hook on which to hang those thoughts. And if I'm ever on a bike going up long uphill climbs, yeah, that's instantly what I think about. You don't think about getting to the top because, you'll have a hard time if you do that. Like I said, you just put your head down, drop into a low gear, and then you just be in the moment of your legs going around and around, and you just stay in this moment and just keep pedaling. And then when you get to the top, you get to the top. You don't worry about getting there. Anyway, I like that idea a lot. Coasting downhill. Really nice pavement right now, very smooth. Hello. I love that. There again, there's some couple of women and some kids sitting on the porch of that house. And just made eye contact and gave them a smile, and I got a big, brilliant smile back. All right, here you go. A little bit of a climb. I do wish I had an even lower gear though. My mountain bike is geared for this kind of climbing, so I've got a very powerful low gear to get me uphill. But I often think that even it isn't enough. I need an even lower gear than this one. Though to be honest, a lower gear than this would have me going so slow, I'd probably just fall over. Because right now, I'm at 4 kilometers per hour going uphill. And as I said, according to Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, you don't even think about how long the hill is. How long the hill is irrelevant. You just stay in the moment and your legs go around and around. And your breath goes in and out. An interesting thing about this road early in the morning, like kind of after I left and it started to get a bit brighter, I noticed there was so much activity with getting the young children off to school. So that was kind of interesting to see. The side of the road, so many kids in their school uniforms, 3 or 4 of them piled up onto a scooter with mom or dad driving, taking them to school or waiting for some kind of vehicle to pick them up, take them to school. And the other thing I think about are all these trucks with the palm nuts the palm oil. Like there's one going by me right now, that yellow one, and there's an orange one up ahead. I find it to be an interesting plant, and I've seen men go by on their motorbikes with these very long scythes to cut the fruit down from the tree because they're quite tall, and the scythes are like, I don't know, 20 to 30 feet long. The one thing I think about when these trucks, oh boy, I better get off to the side here. This truck has taken up a good chunk of the road. There's no room left over for me. Whew. I was just complimenting the driving, but maybe he broke down. I was gonna say, I don't think too much of that strategy of parking right on the highway and taking up an entire lane, but maybe his truck broke down. I doubt it though. Who knows why he parked there, but it's causing a lot of trouble. But yeah, I was thinking of those trucks with the palm nuts, because they're heavily packed, those trucks, and I often see one of the nuts at the side of the road, you know, smashed, and every one that I see smashed is one that fell off one of those trucks. And if you get whacked in the head with one of those, yeah, that would hurt. So when one of those trucks goes by, or even one of the trucks with the timber, I spare a thought for thinking about something falling off the truck. You know, I try and keep one or two brain cells aware of the possibility that any truck that goes by, something could fall off its load. Like if a truck was coming towards me and a piece of wood fell off, or one of those palm nuts fell off, I mean, it would be like a projectile coming right at me. So I always have that in the back of my mind to be careful. I guess it's time for a trip update. Trip update and knee update. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning now, and I'm in a small town called Minas, or Minas, something like that. Really nice looking place. As the place where I stayed last night, I really liked the hotel, the W72. And it's in a town called Candace. But Candace, I don't know, I didn't spend enough time there to really get a feel for the place. It felt more like just a spot where the kind of a widening of the road, more so than an established town, right? But this place, Minas, feels like an actual city, like a little place. Has a real sense of the center and the streets and the neighborhoods. So it just has a nice feeling to it. You're up in the hills, and right on the edges of the road, you can see down into valleys on all sides. So yeah, it's quite nice. And there were, I passed lots of places where I could eat. Unfortunately, I am hungry, but there's just no way. I can't risk putting any food into my system right now. I'm going to have to wait until I get to Pekanbaru before I dare do that. It could trigger all kinds of nastiness. So I'm going to have to wait until I check into my hotel room, and then I can get something to eat. But yeah, I don't really want to risk it being out on the road. But I did stop for one of my favorite snacks, Ultra Milk, and one of my favorite places, an Indomaret convenience store. I love these places and the Alpha Mart shops, just because they have seating all the time. You know, they have some places to sit on the outside. And this is the parking area. You can see the name of the place up there, the red, blue, and yellow sign, Indomaret. And there's my bike right over there. And then, yeah, they always have an area like this where you can sit. It's mainly a smoking area, of course, but you can sit out here and have a drink and relax for a bit. Yeah, really comfortable chairs. So, yeah, I needed a break from the road too. Knee update. Similar to the other days, good news and bad news. The good news is I've ridden about 40 kilometers to get here, and it was pretty tough riding, to be honest. A lot of steep climbs. It was just basically up and down the entire way. So it put a strain on my knees, and my right knee after 40 kilometers, I don't feel anything. I don't feel any pain. I don't feel any strain, nothing at all. So that's good news. But my left knee has been, it's a bit of a wreck still. So I kind of had to depend on my right leg for most of the cycling this morning. Yeah, the left knee is not in good shape. So that's not good news. But the fact that my right knee is in good condition makes me feel like my left knee might improve over time. So that's the good news side of this equation. Good news, bad news. Yeah, so from here I expect it's going to get busier and busier and busier as I head into the big city of Pekanbaru. A lot of oil industry again, this whole area. There were 3 guys sitting here having a drink, and I was chatting with them, and not surprisingly, they all work for the big, national petrochemical company. Other guys that I spoke to out on the road, and here some other guys, they work for Chevron, and Chevron has a lot of operations here as well. And I had my eye on a couple of roads that I could take between here and Pekanbaru. But when you zoom down on them in Google Maps, you find out that they're all private oil field roads, and they have security checkpoints, and I don't think it's open to public traffic anyway. So you have to be careful what road you try to take here. A lot of them are private, they're run by the oil industries. So, but I have my route picked out, how to get to Pekanbaru. About somewhere between 35 kilometers from here to get to my hotel, depending on the roads that I take. So fingers crossed my left knee will hold out for the remainder of the distance. At what feels like long last, I'm just entering into the outskirts of Pekanbaru. I think my hotel is about 9 kilometers from here, and relatively straight shot to get there. It shouldn't be that complicated. I have to stay on this road most of the way for about 7 kilometers, and then this road goes over a bridge, goes over a river on a bridge. And then after that, I've got to kind of zigzag a little bit to arrive at the hotel. And I'm hoping that I've turned off the highway. I'm hoping that I've left behind most of the really big trucks. No shortage of traffic, though. A lot of cars and motorcycles so far, but... Hello. No, none of the big oil trucks or cement trucks or palm oil trucks so far. It's nearly 3 o'clock. So I should get to the hotel, start checking in around 4, maybe, something like that. Not bad. Pretty good day. The sun was out for a little while, came down pretty hard, got really hot for a while. I pulled over for a while at an Alpha Mart convenience store, and they happened to have some benches in the shade, and I lay down on the benches for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Just took not a nap, I didn't go to sleep or anything, but just rested there for a while. And that was really nice, actually. It's a bad habit I have. I can't nap, I can't sleep, but I also have a bad habit of getting fixated on arriving at a place, and I don't want to stop anywhere for long periods of time. I just like to keep going and going, and yet I think it helps a lot to stop in the middle of the day, you know, even for an hour. Just stop somewhere, lie down, rest your back, rest your neck, get comfortable. I think that really helps, makes the day more enjoyable. But I was also a bit worried about taking a long rest because it looked like rain was going to come in the afternoon. So I just wanted to get to Pekanbaru as soon as possible and beat the rain. We shall see how it goes. So this is how you know you're entering a big city. The first stoplight I've seen in days and days and days. I don't think I've seen a stoplight before since I arrived. I don't know, there must have been one since I arrived in Sumatra. But I don't know, that red light there feels unusual to me. Luckily, I eventually reached a point when I came down out of the hills and the landscape flattened out a fair bit. Still been going up and down, but not nearly as much as it was for most of the day. So these last 25, 30 kilometers, at least physically in terms of climbing up and going back down, have been quite a bit easier. And the good news, bad news situation hasn't changed. To my delight, even after 70 kilometers of difficult uphill climbs, my right knee is perfectly normal. No pain, not even a twinge. I'm not even aware of it. My right leg just goes around and around like normal. No pain, no difficulty at all. My left knee, though, that's another story. It's a lot of pain there. It's been very hard today. I think in terms of cycling in my life, I don't know. I think I'd have to rank today as one of the most difficult days I've ever been cycling, just because of that left knee and having to go through all those hills. It's been a tough day. But luckily, my right leg can make up for it. Yeah, I really hope my left knee eventually recovers. Saw the light turn, but all the cars were ignoring it. So I wasn't sure. That's one of the things I noticed in Thailand too when I was on the scooter. My instinct is generally to obey traffic lights and traffic signs. Hello. And you'd think that the safest thing to do would be to stop at red lights, stuff like that. But it's ironically, it's the opposite. It was the opposite in Thailand quite often. Stopping at a red light was one of the more dangerous things you could do, just because a lot of the people behind you weren't expecting it, you know. They would just go right through the red light, and they're expecting you to go through the red light. And if you come to a stop, you nearly get hit from behind. So when that light turned red, I went right through it because everybody else was going through it. Hello. And up ahead of me, I can see a bridge. We're getting closer to downtown. I'm getting the feeling now that the main populated district of Pekanbaru is on the other side of the river. I think as soon as you cross the river, yikes! He was using one of those 25-foot scythes that I was talking about earlier. They use those to cut down the palm fruit. But he's using it to trim the trees at the side of the road. Crew up here doing the same thing. Better swing out all the way wide. Don't want to get hit by one of these branches. Short distance away from my hotel, about 2 kilometers, I think. Just got to get over the river on this bridge. I think the river is called the Siak River or Siak River, something like that. Let's see if we can do this. I left the bike in a really high gear when I came to a stop there. Oh man, that knee hurts. Ow, ow, ow. Certainly glad to be arriving. I probably shouldn't do it, but I have. Hello. I have relatively high hopes for the Windstar Hotel. I think it fits into the category of hotel that I really like. It's an older hotel, so a bit worn around the edges, but I think it was quite, you know, a little bit of a luxury hotel when it was originally built. So I'm hoping that it's going to be spacious, at least in the lobby area, in the hallways, if not in the room. We'll see. Okay. Hello. Hello. Got a gear way down to climb up this bridge.
little bit worried about the Agoda situation. I saw one review of someone saying that they showed up at the Windstar with a confirmed and paid reservation through Agoda, but the hotel wouldn't accept it, or something like that. But I'm hoping that's not a pattern. I would love to have a smooth, easygoing check-in if I can manage it. Oh. I put some sunscreen on my forehead when the sun came out. And now that I'm sweating, all the sweat carries the sunscreen down into my eyes. My eyes start burning. Oh. Whew. There you go. Looking at that billboard ahead of me, the ADV 160. It looks like a lot of fun. To trade in my beast of a bicycle for one of those. Getting a view of the river and a view of the main city, Pekanbaru. Yeah, I don't know much about this city, other than the fact that it's the capital of this province. Has over 1 million people. Oh. And that's all I know, basically. I didn't really have plans to come here originally. Nice river. A lot of bridges going across it. Straight ahead on this road until it dead ends. Kind of a T intersection, I guess. And I turn left there. No idea who had the right of way at that intersection, but traffic seemed to be clear. Uh-oh. I'm running into the one-way streets. I have to recalculate my route. It's funny how the last scattering of kilometers before you're home for the night always tends to be the most complex and the most difficult to navigate. But I'm having some trouble getting through these small streets here. I've already lost track of, even with Google Maps, I keep overshooting where I'm supposed to turn. I go too far. Now I practically stop at every single intersection just to make sure. Do I turn left here? Because if you take the wrong corner, it doesn't mean you just turn around or anything. You just end up in impossible situations. Yeah, I am supposed to turn left here. Follow a curve around and a right-hand turn, slowly but surely. Ah, really nice Indomaret right here. Nice to know. All right. I think this is my curve. And then I turn right. Without getting whacked in the head with a metal pipe, that would be good. All right, so far so good. And that could be the Windstar up ahead on my right, I'm not sure. I feel terrible arriving at these hotels in the condition I'm in. I must look like death warmed over, sweating and dirty and probably bloodshot eyes. No, that's not the Windstar, so time for another quick map check, get oriented. Oh, for Pete's sake. I went in the wrong direction again. How? How could I have gone in the wrong? There was no other direction to go in. I keep trying to zero in on this hotel. I'm just going around it and around it and around it. All right. Straight ahead. Left and left. Ah, that's easy. Okay. Left and left. Okay. I don't know what's wrong with me recently, but I have a lot of trouble navigating lately. I'm always going in the wrong direction. All right. I'm zeroing in on my target. Left here, and left at the next street, and I should be there. Oh, Windstar Hotel exit for cars. So they have a parking garage. And right over here should be the entrance. There we are. What the heck of it? Something's rattling. There it is. Yeah, as I said, older hotel, kind of falling apart, showing its age. But I think it was very nice when it was built, so. Restaurant, lounge, meeting rooms, penthouse. Oh, it's probably not a good place to park. That's better. Gonna lock up my bike briefly while I check in. Oh, my room, I think, is 101. So it's over there, yeah. 112, 109. So I'm all checked in. They accepted my Agoda reservation, which is nice. And I'm just making my way down to room 101, 103, 106. 102, and here we are, 101. Nice. So the room exists. There's the window at the end of the hall. I just came here because there's light. Whew. The only fly in the ointment so far is I asked them about what time breakfast was being served, and they said they don't have breakfast here yet. I'm pretty sure it listed breakfast on all of their listings, like on Agoda. It said the room came with breakfast. So I was kind of looking forward to that because I thought a hotel like this that has, you know, sort of old meeting rooms and banquet halls and that kind of thing would, you know, have a nice breakfast spread. But he said, no breakfast. Or is it 110? 101 or 110? It's the, 110. I'm trying to break into somebody else's room. Oh, like I said, I'm losing track of all sense of direction these days. Even trying to get into the wrong room. 110, here we are. Suppose I can be forgiven. 101 and 110 are pretty close. There we go. Well, look at that. That couldn't possibly be a fridge down there, could it? No, it's just just a cupboard. Got my hopes up for a second. Yeah, very dark in here. Clearly showing its age. Has a smell, kind of a, I don't know what that smell is. It's not mold or fungus or anything. It's not paint. I'm not quite sure what it is, but anyway, it has a definite odor. And yeah, twin beds, which is nice. This will be my sleeping bed, my bed for all my gear. They gave you 2 nice bottles of water, and they comes with a kettle, which is nice. And yeah, area there for all of your clothing. No window at all in this room. So yeah, no windows at all. The air conditioner turned on automatically. And hopefully that works. And very dark in here in the bathroom, but here's the bathroom. Sink has water, shower, separate shower stall, which is nice. And they provide toothpaste and a toothbrush and some kind of a soap gel in there. So here's the room. Tons of electrical outlets, which I like. One right beside the bed, 2 at the desk, 1 in the bathroom. So lots, one underneath that desk over there. You got a chair. And yeah, so I got to go down and get my other bag and my trailer. And then I asked about my bicycle. There's plenty of room up here. I could put it up here, but they said I can just put it in the garage. So I guess that's what I will do, I suppose. I'd prefer to bring it up here, but we'll see how that goes. So I've moved into my room, and they came up with a really good spot for me to put the bicycle. They have a parking garage here, and then they had a separate room off the parking garage, and then another room off that room. And it looks like it's some sort of a coffee room, break room, and prayer room. And now it's also a bicycle storage room, so that's where my bike is. Very happy about that. And this is the lobby of the hotel. They have some nice sofas here. One thing I always wish hotels had, like a vending machine where you could just grab a cold Coke or orange juice or cold bottle of water, something like that. I mean, I think guests would go crazy for that kind of stuff, but hotels never sell anything themselves. They never have a little shop or vending machines, anything like that. I often wonder why. But yeah, this is the relaxing area, and that's the desk for checking in. And to end this video, I thought I'd just go outside onto the street and get a view of the hotel in all its glory. I don't know about this neighborhood at all. Doesn't seem like a very friendly neighborhood. It'd be nice if I could just step outside and there'd be like rows of restaurants and markets and coffee shops and convenience stores, but there's really nothing here at all. Maybe you just go outside and turn a couple of corners. Maybe there's just a block away, there's interesting neighborhoods. But anyway, there's the Windstar. Yeah. It's the kind of hotel, I think, if you get the room at a good price, like you get a good deal, I think you'd be happy with this place. But I think if you paid their full fare, like their full rate, like their deluxe room or suite, and you paid an expensive price, then I think you might come up with a few things, like the smell in the room. It's a little bit dirty here and there, very dark and dim. I put in my own light bulb because the light bulbs they have in the room are really, really just tiny things. You feel like you're in a closet with the door closed. You're kind of peering around. It's so dark. Anyway, there's a lot of things wrong with the hotel because it's showing its age. But I'm very happy here. No trouble at all. So there it is, the Windstar. Yeah, not a bad ride to get here. I'm all checked in. Everything's done at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so that's not bad. Now I just have to unpack, have a cup of coffee in my room, relax, find something to eat, and then first thing tomorrow morning, I head to immigration, and that should be quite an adventure. See how that turns out. I hope I get the visa by Friday. I hope, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. Anyway, that's it. Shutting down. I'm glad to have made it here at all. Got to say that. Yeah. Good day, though. Good ride, despite all the difficulties. A very enjoyable day. I like that a lot. So, see you in the next video.